Peace, family. Welcome back to another episode of Words from Yesterday. So today we got something really special for y'all. So with this episode, we're going to be looking at African-American proverbs and comparing them with African proverbs that we studied. So before we start, I just want to give a little bit of context. So when we study these proverbs, it's important to understand that each of them comes from a very distinct culture.
Right.
And oftentimes it's hard to fully understand the proverb without some level of immersion in the culture.
And the language.
Right. So there was an example that you were giving me the other day of an idiomatic expression that the Akan use.
So I mean, for this one, like Akan culture is laden with idiomatic expressions, right? And you, like you say, you have to be in the culture to understand it. It's the same with the Proverbs too, right? And so for this one, like for example, if you want to say like I'm happy, right? I would say meni aje, and that basically means literally my eyes have received, right? And so what's happening here is that like you can imagine giving a child a toy and their eyes going wide, right? So we're kind of capturing that interaction when you say you're happy, right? So it's really focused on that. But if you have no context for the culture, you just hear my eyes have received.
It doesn't mean anything to you.
Yeah. Like imagine hearing someone tell you that in English. You just be like, okay, exactly.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, I think even in African-American vernacular English or slang,
right,
as we call it, we have a lot of expressions that to someone who's just an English speaker but is not a part of the culture,
right,
they'll make little sense, right? So like if you think about the multitude of ways that you can say you like something, right? You can say, man, that's hot. Right? Or you can say that's fire. Right? You can say that's cold. Right? You can say if you like someone, you can say, dang, she's bad.
Right?
And so to someone who's not a part of the culture, these things might seem like they conflict.
They may be negative and
it's
what? Okay.
And so really quickly, there's a question that you posed to me the other day. You said, how do you know when a proverb is spoken? And I had to think about this one for a while, right? But I think it's something natural that happens. I think it's something that your brain can decode kind of on the fly, right? So like, let's give an example. So if we're having a conversation and you give me a critique, right? You say, yo, man, you're always late. And I say to you, if that ain't the pot calling the kettle black, right? So like on the surface, right, in a literal sense, what we're talking about has nothing to do with pots, kettles, colors, anything like that.
Right.
But if you're a part of the African-American culture, then your brain can easily decode that message, right? So another really quickly, another story, a beautiful example of this I remember was back when we were at Howard, right? We were drumming all the time. There was a good friend of ours who was a drummer. He had just got back from Nigeria studying traditional Yoruba drums all summer.
Very good drummer.
So we were in the yard. He was teaching us a proverb. I vaguely remember the proverb, but it went something like awalagba,
idea, idea.
Yeah, so if you're listening, bro, and we got it wrong, I apologize. But anyway, while we were playing, a professor walked up, older Yoruba gentleman, right? He said, well, let's play a proverb from him really quickly. So all he had to play was, he said, awalagba on the drum. The professor heard that and repeated the rest of the proverb back to him. Right? So that's another example of, based on how old that professor was, right, his upbringing, his immersion in traditional culture,
he understood.
All he had to hear was a little bit of the proverb, even on the drum, right, and he was able to decode that. So I think the important message here is that African-American culture is a culture just like any. We have proverbs, expressions, idioms, etc. that are part of our culture, right? And I think that even though some of them have different origins, like some proverbs that we say originate from Europe, some come from our experience here, some come from the Bible, some have survived over from Africa, I think that there's some fundamental similarities, right? And one of those things is the role that Proverbs plays within the culture. And then also I would say the cultural tenets that the Proverbs speak to. Right? So like we have Proverbs that speak to work ethic, that speak to righteous character, that speak to the importance of the words, etc. Right? So let's start with the first proverb. So this first one is a pretty popular African-American proverb or American proverb in general. This one says, it's better to be safe than sorry. Or sometimes it's shortened and people will say better safe than sorry. So this one is basically saying that it's important, right, to take the time to prepare now, or it's important to move cautiously, right, than to get into a situation, it end poorly in the disaster, and you regret it, right? So it's better to be safe now than to be sorry later. So there's a Yoruba proverb that comes to mind immediately when I think of this one. This proverb says, one dips one leg into the stream and the water tugs at it. What if one had dipped both legs? So again, one dips one leg into the stream and the water tugs at it. What if one had dipped both legs in it? So this one to me is speaking to the same idea. So if I come to a stream, right, and I'm about to cross it, and I'm not sure about how strong the current is in the stream, right? On one hand, right, I could go ahead and I could just jump in it. I could dip both legs into it, right? And then if the current is too strong, right, and I end up drowning, then I'll find it out later, and I'll be like, as I'm going down the stream, I'll regret it, right? Versus the first part of the proverb is the safe part, and it's saying, well, if I dip one leg into it and the water kind of tugs at it, right, I was safe in that situation, right? I can say, okay, this is too strong. Right, maybe I need to be cautious, or I need to do something else.
Right, yeah, I mean, the proverb actually that I have goes right in hand with what you're saying. It's a Haitian proverb, and this one says, don't use 2 feet to test the depth of the water or the river, right? It's the same exact idea. You don't just jump in and be like, bam, how deep is this? You want to take your time. Like you said, dip one foot in, dip the other foot in, see how, measure yourself before you just kind of let go of all your inhibitions and just throw yourself in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's another Yoruba proverb that says, weariness is the elder's strongest juju. So again, weariness is the elder's strongest juju. So what is juju? So juju is like a charm, spiritual medicine, maybe something for protection.
Right.
I hesitate to use this word, but even some small magic.
Right.
So in a literal sense, you would think that someone having a magical charm would be the strongest form of protection. But it's saying that an elder, someone who's experienced life, right, their strongest form of protection is their own caution, right, their own wariness, right?
That's powerful. Next African-American proverb that we have is very popular. I know I've been told this a good number of times. And this basically says, if you don't got nothing good to say, don't say nothing at all. If you ain't got nothing good to say, don't say nothing at all.
Popular one.
It said a lot to children. I think I said it to my nephew the other day.
Yeah.
And this one, to me, shows how African Americans recognize the power of words, right? Because if you say something positive, it elicits positive things. It brings about something positive. But if you speak negatively, the only appropriate response is going to end up being something negative. The only thing that's going to come about is something negative when you speak negatively, right?
Yeah.
And so, this one is a real good one. So
yeah, there's a Yoruba proverb that comes to mind. This one says, good talk brings the coal nut out of the pouch.
Yeah.
Provocative talk draws the arrow out of the quiver.
Right.
And so this is one that you need some level of experience with the culture to understand, but I'll try to give a brief explanation. So what's a kola nut? So kola nut is a popular nut that's found throughout West Africa, right? And so in my experience, in my travels, I've seen it used many, many different ways across different cultures in Cameroon, Nigeria, Ghana, etc., right? But all of its uses are generally positive, right? I've seen it used as medicine. I've seen it used as an offering that you give someone when they come to your home. I've seen it have cultural and spiritual significance. I use it in my house spiritually. Right. So the proverb is saying that good talk, right, will elicit, like you said, positive interactions, right, from people. But provocative talk draws the arrow out of the quiver. So everyone knows what it means to take an arrow out of the quiver and to load it up. That means you're about to kill somebody, there's about to be a fight, something like that. So it's saying that provocative talk, negative talk, right, will kind of do the opposite. It'll elicit those negative interactions and reactions from people. Right.
I mean, and just for this one, there's like a number of icon proverbs that really just kind of speak on like talking or just your speech, right? There's a couple of them. So like I'm gonna run through them real quick. The first one is no one is talking without good reason, right? And that's basically saying like if someone is talking, they have a good reason, right? And so if you're going to be someone speaking, make sure you understand what you're saying, why you're saying it, and what the cause and effect will be, right? Because as you just pointed out in the proverb before, good talk, you get cold nut, bad talk, you running for your life from an arrow,
right?
So another one is talkativeness is misfortune, right? And so this one to me says that when you talk so much, you begin to kind of lose control over your what actually is being said, right? And the only thing that kind of can come about that is misfortune, is negative things, right? It's chaos, so to speak, right? The last one is that peaceful talk drives away anger, And that one really is powerful because, like you're saying, if you're in a situation when someone has pulled out an arrow from their quiver already, the way you speak, the way you respond to it can be the thing that causes the arrow to fly or causes it to kind of de-escalate and for it to go back inside of his quiver.
No, absolutely. So this next one is another popular one. This one says, don't count your eggs before they hatch. Or sometimes you hear, don't count your chickens before they hatch.
Yeah.
So this one is saying, don't get your hopes up or make plans based on assumptions. Right. Don't make plans based on something that's not set in stone. Right. So if you think about the literal translation of this proverb, if you have a farm, right, and you have 20 eggs, right, don't make plans based on having 20 chickens, right, because all of those eggs won't necessarily hatch. Right. So there's one Yoruba proverb that I have that goes with that one immediately. You are giving yams at Oyo, and you rejoice. Have you secured firewood to cook them? So this one, so I don't want to take too much time away, but Oyo is a city in southwest Nigeria. There's a lot of history there that I can go into. It's something that you can Google if you don't already know. But basically, you're given the yams, right? And you just get so excited about the prospects of eating those yams. Right. But again, it's not set in stone because half of that is securing the firewood to cook them. Right. It's the same idea.
Real. Yeah, I mean, that's real. Another Yoruba proverb. And this one is a little kind of sad, I guess, the way you look at it. The one says, one does not count a fetus among living children, right? And this, to me, speaks to the possibility, like you've been saying, with the eggs hatching. Sometimes something can go wrong that, may take the plan of action off course, so to speak, know. And so while you prepare for something to happen, prepare for the other side of it as well, right? To be well-rounded in your preparation.
Absolutely. I mean, there's another one that's very similar. It's a Yoruba proverb. It says, one does not count pregnancy as a child already delivered. Yeah. So it's the same idea.
Yeah.
So this next one.
Oh, man.
Let me do this one.
Man. All right.
This is a popular one. I know everybody listening will like this one. Don't act like your shit don't stink. Or it's something that can be said about someone. He said he acts like his shit does not stink. Right? So this one is basically saying that, so when you think about shit, right? What's the one thing that you think about? You think about the fact that it stinks, right? So when you say this about someone, you're saying that someone thinks so highly of themselves, right? They think that they're so flawless that their shit does not stink. Everybody else's shit does, but their shit does not stink. Right. And so there's one proverb that comes to mind. I like this one. This is an Oromo proverb. This one says, the crow does not see its baldness. So
I like that.
So crows sometimes have these spots on their heads, right? And it's saying that it's going to be hard for a crow to look up and see its own spots. Maybe it can see other people's spots, but it can't see its own. And it's the same idea that it's hard for us to recognize our own flaws.
Yeah, that I like that Oromo proverb. That's powerful. I think the Yoruba proverb, kind of goes on the inside about, that situation. And it says that character is always remarkable in the opinion of its owner, right? So you can think of a person who just swears that they're the best, right? Who swears they shit don't stink. They're automatically going to assume that what they do, is just impeccable. It's the one thing that has no mistakes out here, and so it's exactly what it's saying, right? Sometimes when you have something, you're always going to think your thing is the best.
Absolutely. I mean, there's another Yoruba proverb that says, the wicked person will never describe himself as wicked. So it's the same idea, like, someone who's wicked is someone who's of poor character. Right. Even if you have poor character, it's rare that person will be able to recognize their own flaws. Right. So, and not only recognize, but actually speak on it and acknowledge it.
Wow, that's a powerful one. So this next one is one that is very well known. I think a lot of people have heard it. And this one says that a hard head makes for a soft behind, right? A soft ass.
Ooh, yeah. That one, when I hear that one brings back some childhood memories. Yeah.
But this one is real. I think that this one basically speaks of the idea that a lot of times, like, people are told something, right? And they're told via words and via like a non-physical confrontation, right? But sometimes they don't listen. And so sometimes that teaching of the lesson, that telling of the lesson has to switch to a physical thing. And so that can happen in accordance with, parent and child inside the home when, okay, I'm trying to tell you, don't do this. This is not how you should behave. Now you don't want to listen. Okay, now there has to be some physical punishment, to occur. Yeah. But then outside the home as well, if you look at the world, sometimes you'll be in that situation where someone, whoever they are, whatever they are trying to explain something to you, give you something, help you, right? But you don't want to listen. So then the teaching of that lesson will occur in some way, and that thing will be physical. Yeah. It will be hard, and it'll make you wish you listen.
If you're hard-headed, then you always have to learn the hard way a lot of times.
Exactly, right? Yeah. And so the first proverb that comes to mind is a Yoruba proverb, and this one says, "A child that was never taught how to behave, a child that was taught but refused to heed instructions, it is from outside of the home that he or she learns wisdom." Right? And so this one, to me, speaks directly to it. Right? So let's say you have a child who just, for some reason, the parents never taught them anything about how to behave or whatever. When they step outside the house or wherever, something's going to teach them the proper, appropriate way of engaging. And that method of teaching isn't always going to be the nice, let me sit down and explain stuff to you. Yeah. A lot of times it's going to be straight to the point. And then a child who was taught but refused to heed instructions, it's the same exact thing. You know, when they get outside the house, they refuse to listen to their parents, so something else is going to teach them. Yeah.
I mean, there's an Igbo proverb that a teacher used to say to me all the time, and I believe that Chinua Achebe referenced it in one of his older books. Okay. This one says, "A fly that has no one to advise it follows the corpse to the grave."
I like that one.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite. I gotta say that again. A fly that has no one to advise it follows the corpse to the grave. Yeah. So it's the same idea. Like, so flies buzz around a corpse, right? So if the fly doesn't have that wisdom to guide it, right, then it's gonna end up following the corpse into its death. Right. Right. So it's the same idea. Like, if you don't have or you don't heed that wisdom, right, then sometimes the hard way that you learn can end up being fatal. Right. Because that's just life.
Yeah, that's real. The next one is one that I think actually people hear a lot too. Yeah. You know, this one simply says, "Don't bite off more than you can chew." Right? And to me, this one just says to be calculated, to understand your limitations, understand who you are, what you can and cannot do. And it's okay to recognize, okay, well, maybe this isn't something that I'm best at or able to really accomplish, right? So let me take my time. That doesn't mean you never try to extend it beyond what you can do, but recognize where your limitations are as you're even trying new things.
Yeah, it's a balance. Right. Absolutely. Right. I mean, there's a Yoruba proverb that says, "It is an elder who does not know his limitations that is washed away by the river."
That's powerful.
So this one sounds harsh, but like, as you reach elderhood, right, maybe physically you have some limitations. Right. Right. And so if an elder is not careful around something like swimming, then things could end up disastrously. So it's like, again, like being conscious of your limitations.
Right. Yeah. And this one, you know, amongst the icon, when you say something, a proverb or whatever that may be a little rude, you know, you can say different things. And so I'm going to say one of the things, just excuse myself. You say, "Sebe sebe empejasa." It's like saying, sorry 30 times over, right? And so this one says, if an elephant is not sure of its anus, it does not swallow whole coconuts, right? And so this one, you can imagine it, right? It's not sure what it can handle. It from start to finish, it's not going to engage in certain things, right? So it's being very calculated about itself. It knows its body, right? So, okay, well, that thing is too big for me to swallow and then be able to push out at the end. You know, so I'm going to be calculated about what I'm eating.
Yeah, I mean, there's another Yoruba proverb that says, "A wolf that does not have faith in his anus does not swallow whole bones." So it's the same idea. Like, don't start something if you're not sure that you can take it from start to finish. And again, like you said, it doesn't mean never try, but it's a balance between trying new things and also understanding some of your limitations.
Right. I mean, the last one, you know, that I can think of for this proverb, you know, is actually a Haitian one. And this one says that before you climb a tree, look to see if you can climb down. And for some reason, the first thing I think of is those redwood trees in California. Like, if I tried to climb it and I get to the top and I'm like, wait, I can't get down. I thought I was Caesar from Planet of the Apes, but I'm not. And now I'm like, wait, what am I doing? Yeah. You know, so being sure you know, once again, you know your limitations. You know what you can do and what you can't do.
Yeah, I know you said it's the last one, but there's a Yoruba proverb that comes to mind. It says, "One does not lay hands on a load one cannot lift." So it's the same idea. Like, don't start something, right, if you're not reasonably sure that you can finish it or you can handle it. Right. And so in this case, in a literal sense, like if you try to lift something that you really can't lift, then you might have some physical injuries that might occur.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this last one is a pretty straightforward, pretty popular African American proverb and just American proverb in general. This one says, "Actions speak louder than words." Mm-hmm. So this one's pretty straightforward. This one is saying that your behavior, your deeds, your actions, what you actually do, right, speaks a lot louder than what you say you're gonna do. How you describe yourself, right? And so there's a Yoruba proverb that comes to mind with this one. This one says, "A lot of words will not fill a basket. They will only lead to lies."
Wow.
So it's the same idea. Like everything that you're talking about, right, is not going to do anything as far as actual tangible results. Right. What matters is what you actually do. And people who tend to talk a lot are usually not people of action. Right. So if it's time to fill a basket, it's time to get some tasks done. The people who are just talking are usually the people who are not really gonna get it done, right? And if you were about the action, right, then you would say a little bit, you would do it, and that would speak for itself.
Yeah, I mean, the proverb that I have is an Akan proverb, and this one actually goes in hand with exactly what you're saying. So I'm gonna say this one in Chi because I haven't said the other ones in Chi, and this one basically says, "Asema ansa efuenye kesieda," and basically this one translates as the farm of like an endless talker never produces much. So this is exactly what you're saying, right? So imagine someone who owns a farm, you go visit the farm, and all they're doing is sitting around talking. It's like they're just talking. They value talk over the actual work, right? And so I think like a couple of episodes ago, we gave a proverb about basically it's when you work hard in the sun that you're able to eat in the shade.
Yeah.
So imagine this farmer, he hasn't been working hard in the sun, so he's been talking. There's no point at which he's able to harvest his food.
Yeah.
There's no point at which he's able to take it and really go sit in the shade, because he's just been talking. He's not producing anything.
Yeah. Talk doesn't really produce many
Right.
tangible results.
Right.